Welcome everyone, this is Pilot Mules and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at late season LOTRO and here on LOTRO Players. And this week we have with us Sans Winda.
Hello.
Hello Sans, it looks like it's just the two of us tonight.
It does look that way.
But we don't have any news this week, at least not anything like a patch or like that was done in the last week. But we do have a report on an interview that Cordovan had yesterday with Severlin.
Ooh.
Yes, and they were giving us some hints on what's coming up in LOTRO.
Nice.
Right. First of all, there is going to be a small patch next week. Now, all they told us about so far is that it's going to be addressing 2 items that relate to lag. The first of these has to do with missions. Apparently, missions were lagging. So, I should say not just missions, I mean missions with delvings. So the delvings, because of all those extra things that they add,
We're making it lag.
Well, apparently some of the code there wasn't optimized well enough and that it was lagging. Now, it was not only lagging the one who was in the mission, but apparently it was lagging anyone else in the same server.
Oops.
Now, I presume they mean sub-server, not the entire world that it was on.
Yeah, we probably would have noticed if it was the whole world.
Yes, it was. But
it would have been
anyway,
much more obvious.
Yes. So if you happen to be on the same server as whoever was running that mission, you'll be getting some lag as a result of them trying to run that delving in there. Probably because of all those things in it, because they keep on adding layer upon layer upon layer and all that stuff in there. Yes.
That could cause some lag.
So it looks like they're going to be addressing that. And they're hoping that will reduce the lag that was introduced by the delvings. Now, apparently, there was also some additional lag that was happening on 2 specific servers, and those were Arkenstone and Evernight. So they also have a patch in there in order to try to address the lag that was specific to those 2 servers.
Nice.
All right. And I know I've always been seeing threads and all this stuff concerning Evernight lag, and I'm hoping maybe that could have finally put that to rest. We could hope.
That would be good.
Yes, especially considering the fact that while I don't play much on Evernight, I do play a bit on Arkenstone because that's where we have the field trips. So maybe the field trips could be a little bit less laggy.
That would be good.
All right. But even more important to this, they have teased some highlights for what's coming in the next major update, which I guess is going to be in about maybe 2.5 months or something like that.
I heard River Hobbits, Pineleaf. Is this accurate?
Yes! River Hobbits.
I'm excited.
Yes. So we're going to get River Hobbits finally. They were showing some concept art for that. And so of course, they're being hobbits. They look super cute. And so some of the concepts they have there look a little bit different from those of Shire Hobbits on all this stuff. So these are, I would presume these are Anduin Hobbits. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I presume it's the Anduin or something. I don't know because we do have those hobbits in Lindleby, right?
That's true.
True. So I'm thinking maybe it's one of the groups or something like this. I don't know exactly which river they plan to hold. Now, we do know that there are hobbits along the Brandywine, but even though they tend to have the liking for boats that river hobbits do, they of course are more in contact with the Shire, so they tend to be otherwise culturally Shire-like.
True.
So we'll see what these are like, because we've run into the Dunland hobbits, and we run to those there, and we also run into them. The ones in Swanfleet are also tend to be Dunland type hobbits in there. The Dunland hobbits, the Lilleby hobbits, and the Shire hobbits. Those, And when saying Shire Hobbits, I think the Breland ones are pretty close to the same culture as the Shire Hobbits. Those are all offshoots of each other. So those are the three that I know of. Those are the only ones I remember in game, at least from other than Ruins.
By three, you're saying like Shire and Bree lumped together,
Yeah, Shire and Bree lumped together.
and then the Dunland and Swampfleet lumped together, and then Lindleby.
Yeah, Lindleby,
Yeah.
yes.
That makes sense.
So that's why I think of so far as the three cultures in the map, because you had the very isolated ones and you had the Dunland ones who obviously have been near the Dunlandings for a long time because Devonian.
Well, yes, they did pick up some of the local lingo.
Yeah, yes, picked up some of the local lingo over there. So that's what you have there. River Hobbit's coming, so I'm going to guess that maybe in a month we might start getting our first serious hints and maybe getting close to Bull Roar. I guess we'll find out. Maybe mid to late July, maybe something teasing up in Bull Roar.
That'd be pretty cool.
Okay. Now the second thing that they will be introducing in that update are going to be Bjorning and Guardian updates. Let's
Hopefully those will
see.
be good updates.
We'll see. Hopefully, I'm sure that Terry Adwin will hate every single one of the Bjorning updates. Right?
Well, I mean, probably.
Probably, yes. Bears are getting what? What do you mean they're getting eagle mounts?
I guess if they nerfed the bears, she might like that.
Yes.
But we'll see what they actually do.
We'll see what they actually. As for Guardian,
my Bjorning doesn't want to be nerfed, just for the record.
Just for the record, okay. It looks like a lot of the discussion I saw on the forums was mainly focused on the Guardians. I mean, the first page of the staff summary on the forums was mainly taken up by Guardian discussion, and one of the big things that they're changing in there is that they are turning the yellow line into a general line as opposed to a tree. So there won't be a yellow line. It'll be I forgot what the word that they use for them, but it's going to be one of those like the other yellows, like the yellow line is in the Warden. And
that kind of stinks for people who like to play with it two-handed, though.
Oh, is that the main thing that they've been using? Yeah, I was wondering what people used for
that's the two-handed weapon line. For tanking with a two-handed weapon.
Then maybe this will allow you to use two hands in either blue or red line. Then maybe
that would be pretty cool.
So,
especially if they increase DPS significantly in red line.
Well, in red line, yes. In blue line, well, actually, the big thing with blue line
line, it just needs to have some blocking power.
Yeah, that's sort of the problem. But actually, here it is in light. Okay, a new item called Light Touch. You can block with two-handed weapons, plus 20% melee damage and incoming healing per rank. So, yeah.
So that would probably solve that part.
Alright, so they'll allow you to block with two-handed. So it's sort of like treating the second weapon as a long shield in many ways instead of as a weapon, I guess, in some ways. But of course, if you're in red line, they'll be treating it as probably more fully a weapon. Alright, but anyway, that's the yellow line for the Guardian. Well, we'll know about more when it actually comes to Bulwark. We can discuss this more so that we can actually have a chance to look at it and all that. Because right now there's the forum discussion in prepping for it, trying to support tree, that's what they call it. Yes, Guardian Reef. The support tree, the fighter of shadow. Yes, so the plan there then is at some point they'll get the feedback on the proposals in there, and then eventually when they have something ready, I guess it'll get over to Borer, and if we're lucky, the River Hobbits will be ready at the same time. And we'll be able to see those. Now, the third thing that they are planning to add for that update are delvings for the Elder Slave missions. So that means, I think that will be the first missions outside of Swampfleet Cardolan that will have the missions. I mean, the first missions outside of Swampfleet Cardolan that will have the delvings to it. So that's the next step on the delvings as they keep on adding them as they go through each update. And finally, an interesting one is that they are going to have a stat crunch.
Does that mean like our high numbers of health and stuff are going to look lower but function about the same?
That is the intent.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, that's probably. Right now we have people going around with 2 million, and of course the bosses and dungeons are, what was it? I think at one time, Severlin said when you start to have bosses with a morale of 1 billion, it's starting to get out of hand. And I don't know if that's literally true. If there are any bosses.
I stopped looking at the numbers of boss health, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I turned it off.
Yeah. If there is 1 billion health to any boss, it's possible maybe in tier 5. Since I've never been in a tier 5 one. And I think I have seen them well above 100 million, I think, in a tier 1 or 2. I can't remember which one it was. So yeah, if they're getting up in those very, very high numbers like that, then yeah, maybe in tier 5 it's getting near 1 billion, or at least pushing it. So yeah, it's definitely, especially if the code that's holding the morale levels is 32-bit.
Oh yeah, and it might be still.
It might be a 32-bit number. So yeah, that would either mean, okay, it's possible that they have the 64-bit now that we have 64-bit clients and all that stuff, but from the point of view of holding data and transporting data all over the place, having billion level ones that are going to be forcing you to 64 bits for your morales is probably going to be a potential source for lag, because you're going to be doubling how many bytes you got to transfer and all that stuff, and we already know we got enough problems on that matter. So,
right.
So that could be one of the things, is trying to make sure that there aren't any numbers approaching 1 billion that are going to be affecting the system. That might be the reason why they chose this particular timing for it. So I guess we'll find out what's really the case. But anyway, numbers are starting to get up into ridiculous ranges, and I think I've been complaining about some of the numbers for some time. So I suspect that they're going to try to crunch things down and probably smooth out the progression a little bit, so that maybe we won't have some of those rapid jumps that we currently have in this. Because we have some places where there are some ridiculous jumps when you go from place to place. So maybe that could also happen. Now, they mentioned the updates to crafting, but they're still not sure on exactly what state, because they are trying to get everything to work and all that stuff, and apparently that's been running into snags here and there. So they're not quite confident to announce that. They're not even confident on promising that us to update 38 even. So that shows you about it's being quite a little bit challenging there. So they may even think it may even slip the year. I guess we'll have to find that out when the time comes. So yes, I know we're all hoping for that crafting update where we'll no longer have to worry about the vocations and all.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a lot of code that must be tied into it, because I have a feeling that they could have had it done if there weren't other systems tied into it, giving probably some sort of spidery mess at the bottom of it. That because we know how much of that type of code probably exists in a game 15 years old.
Fair.
Yeah.
And the crafting system, is the crafting system 15 years old or nearly?
Well, the crafting system, I think, is as old as the game.
That would be my guess, but I didn't play at the beginning, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I did play it. In fact, they've made changes to the crafting quest over the years. So I was like, yeah, but the crafting system has always been there as long as I've been playing, and I've been playing since I think 2 months after launch.
So it could be tied into all sorts of things.
Yeah. So yeah, it could be quite a spider mess in there. And I'm sure that the devs don't want to go playing with spiders at the moment.
Never mind.
Yeah. All right. Now, I decided to compare this to what that was on their summer forecast at the beginning of the year when they gave their little LOTRO letter for 2023. And for the summer, in Q3, now the first thing that's on their list was further adventures. So I'm guessing that they're still working on the further adventures thing. They just weren't ready to tease what the further adventures is going to be about, so they didn't talk about it. And besides, they had all sorts of juicy things to announce, like river hobbits.
Fair.
Yeah. And second, so the further adventures I think is still going to be coming along. It's just that they're not ready to announce what that's about yet. Maybe we'll find that out in a little bit more than a month when they start to have those Bulwerer builds. Class updates. Well, obviously now we know which 2 classes are getting the update for the summer. That being the Guardian and the Bjorning. The ongoing crafting updates, which now it looks like the ongoing crafting updates are, I don't think they've quite, I think they've done some light work. They must have been doing some background work on the whole thing, but stuff that we could visibly see, I think, has been minimal so far. So we're hoping that the ongoing will someday bring something visible to us. The delving updates, well, it looks like the delving updates are going to be the Elder Slades. The continue monster play updates. I think that Sev did not talk about monster plays in because he wants to leave that to the ones who work on monster play. I think that there are still going to be updates in there. It's just that he didn't want to talk about them for his particular discussion. Of course, we have the Farmer's Fair as usual for the summer item, the usual rewards track update, and then the return of the Treasure Boogan, which I presume is on track also. So that's what was on the schedule in there. I think they were saying that maybe we'll get River Hobbits at some time during the year, and they weren't promising anything yet, but it looks like now it's slated for the summer. And the stat crunch, I can't remember if they mentioned that or something, because I think that they were hinting of that possibility, but I don't think that was in the letter. I think that was just occasionally when people were asking about a level crunch. Several, and I know at one point, replied that they're more likely to do a stat crunch than a level crunch. And that looks like exactly what they're doing now. Now, they did say one thing about update 58. Or 30. Kind of getting my update numbers mixed up, probably between the other game and this game. But okay, for the fall update, the expansion, they did mention finally the name. They officially announced the name of the new class. And you have a good guess on what that's going to be?
I keep hearing something about Mariners, and I think they're not meaning the baseball team?
They don't mean the baseball team. Yes, they are calling them the Mariners. In fact, I think I've been calling the Mariners ever since they made the announcement back in January, because it sounded like the natural thing to call them, because the only other name that was possible was Corsairs, and it has a very negative connotation, especially with the storyline they're doing right now.
That makes some sense.
Yeah, so I have a feeling then that yes, so I was thinking that was a natural name, especially since mariner is a term that is used by Tolkien
Mm-hmm.
because
Which is okay.
Arendelle was a mariner. Yes,
Yes.
yes. So Elrond's father, and so
Does that
maybe
mean-
I.
Never mind.
Does it mean what? Well,
They can drive ships.
Well, that's
We
sort
could
of
go
the.
seafaring.
I think that's an unlikely thing to happen simply because that will require so much infrastructure in order to add ships and sailing and all of that stuff. We remember how cool it sounded to have mounted combat when they first announced that.
Okay, that is a good point. Maybe they could. No. I mean, we say that the war steeds steer like a boat, but that's not really a compliment.
Yes, that's not a compliment at all.
So,
and yes.
I guess it'll be interesting to see what they can do if they're mariners who can't use boats, though.
Well, they suspect that there are apparently that some of their abilities are going to be tied to sea shanties. Don't ask me how.
That could be interesting.
Yes.
So we'll be like... Never mind. I was going to say we're going to be grounded mariners.
Grounded mariners. They're hoping to have at least some instances which are going to be having ship-to-ship combat. In other words, you'll be having combat on the ship. You won't be fighting between two ships, but boarding actions and stuff like that are things that could be possible. In other words, you start the instance, and the instance has you at the point that you arrive on the ship. I think we've done something similar to that on a couple of occasions. So.
We have. But, okay, hear me out on this.
Yes?
What if it was an epic battle sort of situation? If they can move
please save us from that.
Okay, I know. But if they can move those huge siege towers around, like, could probably move some boats around and throw some planks down between them and have fighting back and forth between them, which wouldn't be as awesome as getting to drive our own ships around. But I could see them implementing something like that. It would be nice if they used a slightly different frame. Battle frame.
That's why I think I have a feeling more likely the ships are already going to be tied together when you enter the instance, just to make the life a whole lot easier in implementation.
Fair.
But anyway, we have to just then figure out what races will be able to play. Will be able to play.
River hobbits can be mariners.
Yeah, yes. I say river. Yes, river hobbits. Regular hobbits, maybe not. I mean, river hobbits definitely.
You know, I think even if we can't have ships, we should be able to carry little dinghies that are summonable, like horses are. And mariners, instead of being able to like run super fast on land when they need to cross water, like at Lake Everswim, can just whistle for their dinghy and row across the lake swiftly.
Row across the lake swiftly, yes.
That would be pretty cool. Like, I think that would be a cool trick for a mariner to have.
So rowboats for mariners.
Yeah. Fast rowboats for mariners.
Fast
small,
rowboats.
Fast, maybe like small, fast kayak type boats for mariners.
Okay. Kayaks.
You don't need to take your whole party with you. I mean, unless... Well, you can't be a lore master and a mariner at the same time because it's glass, so...
Right. This isn't the other game where you can multi-class.
Right.
Now, let's see. mariners going. See, if you're rowing, yeah, I'm just trying to think about.
Surely it could go faster than somebody who can swim and jump at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I was thinking because you're
Significantly
talking
faster.
about. Yeah, you're talking about kayaks or something like this. I was just wondering if kayaks would be reasonable for Middle Earth.
Okay, it wouldn't look like a kayak. It'd be like a one-person canoe.
Well, canoes wouldn't be appropriate either.
Why not?
They came from North America.
You're telling me there were no Vikings around who created small, light boats in
I'm sure.
England
Okay.
before?
Yeah. Longboats, yes. Longboats go way back.
So, I'm thinking like a personal-sized training longboat.
Okay.
The sort that you would take like from the shore to a bigger boat. But like for one person, not for carrying lots of people.
Okay. Very well.
I'm not thinking it would look like a modern kayak. I'm thinking it would function kind of like that, where you can just seat one person.
All right, I guess that would. I'm sure there were plenty.
It could even be a dugout log. It would work.
Let's see. Oh, I'm trying to think of a. I'm trying to think of it. There is a type of. But I just can't. It's a small one-person boat that I'm pretty sure does come from Europe, but unfortunately I can't remember the name.
What about a coracle?
That's the one I was thinking of.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. A coracle, I think, would work.
It's from Wales. That should work.
Yeah, that should work.
That's close enough.
Yeah, that's definitely close enough, and yeah, these are. Yeah, So let's say that mariners have a coracle then. I think that'll work.
Maybe a slightly more streamlined coracle.
Well, yeah, that's sort of the things. Coracles aren't exactly known as for being the most streamlined boats out there. Well, we'll have to find. I guess someone would have to go and search for the history of personal watercraft and what kind of ones you would have that would be appropriate to the area.
Fair.
But anyway, Mariner class that is coming up with the expansion. Okay, that's right. We're saying river hobbits, probably not normal hobbits. It's obviously high elves, seeing how Elrond's father was a mariner.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, yes, right. Even the regular elves, because they were doing the whole thing about. I mean, we have a shipwright, and of course the whole thing. Yeah, of course the whole thing about elves sailing. Of course, elves could be mariners. And then, obviously, race of man, because
humans do.
You're right, because
everything.
the Numenorians were notorious for their abilities in sailing, all that stuff. Dwarves, I'm just trying to imagine it, and if there were dwarven mariners, I would think it must be from one of the other. I can't imagine Longbeards going out to sea, but it could be that one of the other 7 branches of the dwarven tree go out to sea or something like that. Because we don't know the cultures of all 7 of the dwarven lines. I know that we've met them all during the battle at the gate of Moria and all that stuff, but I don't think we've really had an opportunity to understand what there is. And I have a feeling, of course, that they probably intentionally didn't provide us all that information just in case they decided to add a twist that we didn't think about.
Fair.
Yeah. But anyway, mariners are now becoming in the autumn update. All right, and that is it for the news on there, for the teases that they had there. So let's head into our store sales. And what's on sale this week?
Before we go into sales, in Northern Europe, some argue that hide boats or kayaks were used as early as 9,500 BCE. Random. Okay.
Okay. So kayaks may actually...
Kayaks and dugout canoe type things are plausible for Europe as well.
Okay, dugout. Okay, fine.
Like
That's...
hollowed out tree type thing.
Yeah, I guess hollowed out trees would be...
It was apparently the most common sort of quickly made boat.
Yeah, I can't think of any other way. I guess it's just but they must have become, maybe the style of doing the canoe might be what they get, because that what we think of as a canoe today was it, but probably had a different shape or something like that then, because I can't think of a word that they used for wherever they had that was like a canoe in Europe before them, because the word canoe itself does come from the Americas.
Fair.
So, unless you could find a word that they had for them.
I found dugout boat.
Dugout boat,
that we would now call a canoe, is what I found.
Okay, that's probably...
So I'm guessing they called it a dugout boat.
Which is probably too long of a name, so that they finally decided to finally found a good, convenient word to use for it finally, despite this. So they existed all this time, they just did it.
I mean, they might have had like some nicknames for them or something, but...
Yeah, actually, it looks like these dugout... a lot of these pictures now looking at... Yeah, they look close to a canoe, but not quite to... Probably a little bit more to a European style in how they look, probably. Yep. Okay.
That's what I was finding, too. Alright, so on sale this week, though, not to get us too off track here.
Yes.
You can start a new journey with 25% off character slots, if you're allowed to buy any more, vet status, stat packages, and XP boosts through June 22nd. And this...
What? Yeah. What is the current limit on character slots, since you seem to always be at that limit?
I'd have to log in to find out.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, well, there's probably going to be another one added during update 38, because usually when they add a new class, I
need more character slots.
Yeah, because you're going to need another character slot for your Mariner.
It would also be kind of cool if there was a way to, like, rotate in and out characters and, like, have, like, a character closet. Anyway.
Character closet!
Right, where they're not, like, staring on the screen with that horrible lettering under them telling you, like, you failed, you can't use this character. But, like, you could be like, hey, I'm gonna choose these characters for... Anyway. And the summer sale continues. This week you can get 25% off the Fate of Gundabad in the LOTRO store only, 50% off the Brawler class, which is pretty fun, 75% off Stout Axe Dwarves, and that also lasts through June 22nd. And you get a weekly coupon for a free Landscape Soldier token, should you need one.
Yeah.
With the coupon code FIGHT4ME, FIGHT, the number 4, and then ME. And that is also good through June 22nd. Fight for me.
Alright. Yeah, alright, thank you. So I have a feeling that if you're going to use the Landscape Soldier coupon code, I suggest you do it on a lower level character rather than a higher level character, since your Landscape Soldier is probably not going to do too much for you at a higher level.
I was just thinking about that. I was like, I mean, they could try to fight, I suppose. If they weren't busy, like, healing each other.
Well, I wasn't just thinking about the healing each other thing. I'm just thinking about their stats being rubbish.
Oh, I know. Like, die for me? That doesn't have nearly the same ring, though.
Hey, maybe somehow by some miracle the stat crunch could wind up somehow. I would say the odds of that are between slim and none, but
Well,
who
maybe it
knows?
could give them a starting point to fix that, and they could surprise us with it, which would be amazing.
Yes.
That'd be a great surprise.
Yeah, that would be a
Christmas in
great
July? I like it. What do we want for
Yeah.
Christmas in July? We want relevant skirmish soldiers at high levels
Relevant service soldiers at high levels. Yes.
that can help us
All right.
solo players in the new areas.
Yes. Now, I noticed there that they have significant discounts on the brawlers and on the stout X. It's almost like they're getting ready to introduce a new class and race.
It is almost like that.
Yes.
And if you don't have the brawler or the stout axe now, they are pretty cool. So,
right.
It's a good time to get them.
Okay. So let's head into our weekend gaming sense window. What were you up to?
Well, I started playing Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom with my nephew. Not like in the same game because it's single player, but next to each other on the couch. And that was pretty fun. And I started gluing, I call it gluing, started attaching lots of random things together, creating new things. And that was fun too. And then played some more Ark with Cinders. And just finished revenge taming a max level terror bird just before the podcast started. Like 2 minutes before the podcast started. Oops. And yeah, it had killed Cinders twice. And so now we've tamed it, but now we're stuck at like the bottom of a pit. So that's gonna be fun, figuring out how to finish getting our way out. But
how to get out of this pit in there?
Yeah, well, we have enough ladders to get us out.
Yeah,
but we still now have a terror bird that's like we're kind of responsible for at the bottom of the pit.
Yeah, so, at the bottom. It's like, yeah, and unfortunately, terror birds are noted for being a large number of things, but not for flying.
Not for flying, and not being very good at climbing ladders, which was great when we were trapping it, but not so great now that we need to get it out of there. So
yes,
more adventures await us as we try to figure this out. How was your weekend gaming, Fine?
All right, I'll begin with my lore master who completed the chapter 1 of the new area, the Song of Waves and Wind. We finally got the first hint about the title of this new item, like right at the end, of course, they're saying that this is going to tie to something called the Song of Waves and Wind. Of course, we have absolutely no idea what that means at the moment, but we will someday figure it out, I guess, as we go through further chapters on it. Looks like that the current update, the first part of King's Gondor, is chapter 1 to it. I'm going to guess maybe chapter 2 will come with the next update, would be my guess. Maybe we could cross into Western Gondor next time and find out what's on there. We'll just have to figure out if that's going to be part of it or not. Or if the Western Gondor is being saved for when we do Umbar. I guess we'll find out at some point. And yes, it does involve Umbar because we've been told that very, very explicitly. Something that was said made me wondering, made me think, or I think I have a feeling where Jajax is, where we're going to meet Jajax. We'll just have to find out. No, we did not meet Jajax, but I have a feeling I know where we're going to meet him. I guess we'll find out soon enough whether or not that's true. And now my Runekeeper, I started doing the Legacy of Durin storyline. And finally, in Friday Night Fights, we headed into the sewers with only 5 and found out that if you go around entering into sewers with only 5 people, you get eaten by rats.
Oops.
Oopsie daisy.
Well, I mean, the rats were probably happy, but that doesn't sound very pleasant for you guys.
No. It was not very pleasant for us. We currently have 13 supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to join this illustrious rate of players and help support LOTRO players, you go to the donations page to support the Players Alliance on Patreon. Your money will be used for our podcast hosting, website hosting, and to pay for our live shows. If you would like to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@lotraplayers.com. LOTRO Players and the Players Alliance have 2 shows each week. On Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have LOTRO Players News. You can join us for our shows at lotraplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight then. This is Pilot Noodles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.